It's not a big building.
That's nice. They gave you an office by the door. That shouldn't be a hint. Let's make it easy for Jason to leave.
Yeah, no, it's kind of nice. I slip in and out of here undetected.
Wow.
Just fantastic.
Hey, so here's what I want to talk about today. I hate to just jump right into it. Oh, first of all,
Go ahead.
let me think about that disclaimer. What is it? The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect the
You said it wrong.
views or opinions of
You did.
any previous or current employers. Boom.
Just don't make that sliable, okay?
All right,
That's the
done.
point.
That's it. So here's what I want to talk about. So first of all, it's been a while since we put a podcast out because we're god awful busy. You know, everybody is right now. It's just there's no way to get around it. If you're in construction, you're friggin' slammed right now.
Everybody around the entire country is.
Yeah. Not only that, you know, and I've said this a million times, but construction never stopped. We never got a break. We never got to sit at home and freaking watch every show on Netflix because we're busy still building.
Right.
So I'm going to apologize to the listeners because it's been a while and we haven't put a podcast out just because Jason and I are busy. You know, I did a public service announcement. I asked for resumes. 3 of the people that sent me resumes have already interviewed, and one of them's already been offered a job. So,
fantastic,
dude. Builders are looking for you. So just put that out one more time. If you guys are looking to upgrade your career, get into construction, change companies, whatever, send me your resume. I told the listeners, Jason, in that public service, I said, listen, if your resume is shit, I'm going to tell you, this is trash. You need to fix it. I got a couple that were trash. I actually jumped on the phone with a couple of guys and said, listen, your resume is trash, makes no sense. Let's fix this sucker up. They made some tweaks. They sent it back to me. I forwarded it. One of the guys whose resume was trash has already been interviewed. So I got to follow up with him and see how it went, see if he got the job or what if he's going to accept it or however that went. But that's badass, man. You know what I mean?
It is.
Helping people.
Fantastic, and you know it's proven that you caring about people in this industry. I mean, let's face it, this podcast doesn't do anything for us.
Nope.
And it's all about everybody listening. That's what's really cool about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I say ironically, I feel like this podcast has kind of highlighted how serious we are and how important this career is to us, and I feel like has helped to accelerate our careers and also hurt the podcast somehow. I mean, obviously we're separated now.
Yeah.
You're running national level production. I'm now in Atlanta managing production in a division, and there's a lot of miles between us, and we're both just slam busy in is like I say, the best and worst years of my construction career at the same time.
Yeah, dude. You know what's funny? Dude, I'm so busy. And Gina was like, she goes, hey, you gonna teach any more COTS classes? I'm like, no, I'm not. I might. I don't know.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
If I can get off...
Hey, I can't hardly breathe. Maybe I'll, maybe I'll try some more at the same time.
Honestly, if I could do it in person, I would be all about it. I hate the Zoom classes, though. It really sucks. There's nothing personal about it. It's just, I don't know, a bunch of black boxes. Stupid. Hey, so along those lines, if you're a student out there, turn your goddamn camera on. Give your professor something to work with, for F's sake.
That goes for every single Zoom scenario that I can think of. If you're in a professional setting and you don't have your camera on, I'm assuming that you haven't cleaned yourself today. And it's not good. It'd be different if you were driving. Hey, I don't believe it.
So speaking of cleaning yourself, that's what I wanted to talk about today is routines, right? So, because everybody's got a routine, right? I shouldn't say everybody, because the most successful people have like a routine that they follow, and they're religious about it. It's funny. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was asking for advice. He was talking about a subordinate, I guess, or a guy that works for him. This is a builder, and he was like, God, he's like, I got this guy. He's all over the place. He's just scattered. He does, he's never doing the same thing twice. He's like, what can I do to get this guy? I don't want to let him go. I want him to improve his performance. And I was like, well, dude, you got to get him some structure. You got to get him into a routine. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, I'll give you an example. When I was a construction manager, my days were, obviously you're putting out fires and you're troubleshooting and things like that. But structurally, they were the same, right? I get on the job site. First thing I did I would drive the entire job site, depending on the size. Second thing I would do is park my truck or my car, get out, and I would start walking houses. I'd spend my morning on site, driving the job site, walking the houses, making sure things got, taken care of. There was no surprises from the night before or whatever. Then I would end up in the office in the late morning, computer work, paperwork, whatever, back out on the site, walking houses, checking on trades, making sure people have showed up, they're doing quality work, lunch, back in the office. Then before I would leave, I'm back in the field, I'm walking houses, I'm doing whatever. Troubleshooting, make sure, things are getting locked up, that sort of thing. It was my day. It was my day-to-day, right? You would throw a meeting or two in there, whatever. But it was very structured, and it was, the trades knew where I was going to be, when I was going to be there. And because it was something that I did every single day, I was able to monitor progress. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or the lack of progress. And that's what I was telling this guy. I'm like, you got to get this guy set up with some kind of a structure so that he can, have some hope to improve his performance. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you today about, like your routine, how it benefits you, and to see what advice you had for guys, that are maybe struggling, that are kind of feeling like they're all over the map.
Right. Well, that's a hard one because it depends on the scenario, right? I mean, depending on what your job site looks like, what phase it's at. Sometimes, if you're at the beginning of the job site, you're going to spend the bulk of your time planning, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a whole lot to look at physically. You're just planning. So it really depends on your scenario. When you have a up and running job, I do the exact same process that you just described. Drive through, broad picture, look at it, marketing perspective. And then, we go back into what was probably our first podcast, which is my, process in which I look at homes. I love to look at the one that's farthest from delivery first and take some notes on it and move my way through the job site one by one until you get to the homes that are the soonest to deliver. And, really working hard to dial in all those smaller items. And,
let me ask you a question. You made the comment that if it's a new job site, you're planning. So how is that going to? What do you mean? What are you planning for if you got a brand new job site?
Yeah. So if you got a brand new job site, I mean, we're doing a whole bunch of planning. I mean, a lot of that planning starts even years before the job starts, right? Picking the models, deciding which, the order of starts. I'm building towns and condos, flats right now. A bunch of other mixed-use stuff, some renovation stuff.
Right, but as far as like a routine goes for a construction manager, let's say all that's decided. You throw a guy out, you picked a CM, you're like, hey, I want you to build this stuff. You throw him out there. What's he?
Well, you remember all the jobs that were already planned that you begun the first building, and you remember how they've worked out all the problems, right? No other problems for you. All of those things. It's time to build now. All the things are worked out. No, that's not the case.
Well,
it's never the case.
It's never ever the case.
Every day you can uncover one new problem.
Yeah.
Right. And as a well-versed construction manager that's lived through some of these problems, or maybe you haven't. Maybe you're fairly new to this game. You haven't started your own job from the ground up. We've got that scenario here in Atlanta, and I got to say that the construction manager who we've recently promoted that is on the newest job, he asked some of the best questions. He sat down with his plans. He sat down with his site plan. He spoke with a number of inspectors, county officials, trying to work out the questions to ask, logged them all down, and then put together an organized list for me to help answer some of those questions for him.
Well, he's probably got a routine, right? It sounds like he probably shows up. How many houses does he have going right now?
We've got 12, 15 more. So, I don't know, what's that, 27? 27, including the first building of towns. And that's the first one. And, in Atlanta, we're a small group, and we've got some jobs that are hot and heavy and settling their first homes, and we got some jobs that are just coming out of the ground. So we're working together. We're going to the job now that is underway, starting the second building. So there's not a whole lot to look at, right? The first building is at groundworks. We've worked out all those questions, spent a couple of days over there. And so he gets his morning started, gets guys moving, and then he shows up at another job to help close some stuff up. And the truth is, his routine is take care of his priorities first and then move to help the other guys. And so that's different than what it'll be once that job is fully up and running. He's going to be back into more of the routine that you and I just described about driving his job and checking things out. Still doing that now, but it will consume his whole day. Let's face it. Yeah, no, for sure, man. But let's talk about the benefits of actually having. So we talked about time management a bunch in the past, right? We've talked about. Oh shit! I just dropped the phone. Hold on. Between the seat. Hold on. You okay, buddy?
I'm surviving. I'm actually on vacation right now. Believe it or not.
Did you fall down just now?
I dropped the phone between the seats. I'm in a parking lot, man.
So am I. I'm pacing back and forth, trying to save the shade.
So let's talk about the benefits of a routine, because we talked about, when we talked about time management, we talked about like last thing you do is you go through your to-do list. You see, you prioritize what you're going to do the next day. When I think about having a structure, like knowing I'm going to drive my job site first and I'm going to walk my job site, I feel like it allows me, as I'm going through my to-do list the night before, it allows me to say, okay, tomorrow I have to do A, B, and C. And because I prioritize them the night before, when I get to the job site, they're top of mind. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna drive the job site. I want to make sure that my concrete guys showed up. When I walk my houses or my building, whatever it happens to be, I've got my to-do list. That's what I'm going to be looking for specifically. Obviously, I'm going to be looking for progress and things like that. But I'm going to be laser focused on the most important things. You nailed it when you said that. The priorities, because they're on my to-do list, and I'm already walking the job site. Those are the things that are going to be top of mind, and because they're top of mind and they're my priorities, they're going to get done. You know what I mean? Sure. And that's going to help me be successful.
Yeah, well, I think what you're describing also requires you to do what you just said the night before you're thinking about what you have to do. That's just plain planning. I mean, going through these, I can't tell you how many times I've driven home and realized that I never turned the radio on. Because I'm just sitting there thinking about the order of things and how they go. And I also am notorious for doing this thing where I'm thinking about all these things, I work out a good plan in my head, and then I just pull over and write it all down. And that's just in preparation for the next day where you're going to come in with, focused. And dude, one of the things that I think is so key is that you force yourself not to be distracted. So you've thought about those things. You come up with a good plan. You're going to drive the job first thing in the morning. You're going to look at that marketing window. You're going to check out all your SWIP stuff. You're going to move to the next phase where you start walking your houses. But you got to have that framework already planned, and you can't let the first guy that tries to flag you down derail your plan. Yeah, man. Because it will inevitably throw you off. I've seen that happen on so many occasions where it's like, it happens to all of us. Don't get me wrong. We're firefighters for a living on some level. Yeah. And, it's, you sometimes you have to derail and you have to go focus on that thing. I mean, this morning I ended up standing next to a plumber who was snaking a drain because we had a clog in our first closing at one of our communities. Oh, that sucks. It wasn't serious. We were able to get it unstopped and all that stuff, but I certainly didn't plan on standing over a plumber's shoulder first thing in the morning.
Especially when it's snaking a drain, man. You don't know what's coming out of there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, this is not ideal.
Well, it's funny you say that, man, because I know a couple of guys that'll walk their houses in the morning. They don't even turn their phone on until they've been in every single one of their buildings, all their units, homes, whatever you want to call it, and they're like, it used to annoy the crap out of me. One guy in particular, I'd be like, dude, I've been calling you, and he's like, the drill. I walk my homes.
Right.
I don't turn my phone on until I'm done. And it's just for that reason, so that he knows exactly what's going on in there and nobody's there to distract him, tell him about the fish they caught over the weekend or whatever. And it's discipline. Yeah. It's so hard to do that.
It is very hard to do that.
Dude,
it does take a ton of discipline. And you know what? Like I say, some days it doesn't go as planned, and you have to be able to put yourself back on the tracks by forcing that routine back into the, in the forefront of your mind and getting back on track.
Yeah, dude. You know what's funny, dude? Talking about that specifically, I had somebody say to me the other day, they're like, you know what? You benefit from ADHD medicine. And I was like, what? And they're like, oh, yeah. You need to focus. And I'm looking at them like, F you. I am highly productive. And they're like, you can't be productive and focused are two different things, man. And I was just like, you know what? I don't have time for this conversation. But, I was...
No, you were like, look, a dog with a puffy tail.
I know. It's funny because I brought it up to Gina and she's just like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I see that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. Yeah. I'm going to go sit in the parking lot and call Jason.
Another guy with ADHD who has a hard time staying focused.
Dude, it's tough though, right? It's, because there's, especially when you're on the job site, there's hundreds of people. There's always problems. There's always challenges. There's always, you're always problem solving or putting out fires or whatever. So getting pulled off of your mission or your target or whatever is super easy. It's the easiest thing to do. Oh, definitely. I know a ton of dudes that run around and they manage through fire drills. And it's because they never take the time to get in front of it to put those fires out, or to make it so that they don't have fires every day. But because they're constantly distracted and they're constantly doing nothing but fighting fires, I mean that's all that they have time for, because that's the chaos that they've created, totally. rather than get in front of it.
Well, and, I see that from time to time, man. I see guys that, and, there's the whole lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Like, yeah. I've definitely seen this as an issue in construction managers and said, hey, I really think that prioritizing your day is going to change your life. Here's how I want you to do it. Walk with me. Let me show you how I've done it.
Yep.
What worked for me. You can always adapt to it. And then watch them go right back to their old habits. I mean,
that's frustrating.
That is a problem when you're scheduling work and you have items in a home to do, like a warranty item, let's say, and you've got 20-item punch list, and the homeowner is pushing you to get one of those things done, or the trade is available, and you try to go get in there and do one thing. That is not going to help you overall. The best plan is to set up a work date that's 2 weeks away and put every item on order and all items on schedule, and then don't stop until it's all finished. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a hard thing to do, because you've got people that want to get in there, and your customer wants you to get it done, and what you really want, and what you know that they really want, is not to be in their house 5 and 6 times. You want to get it all done at once. And once again, it's forcing you to be on a routine, and sometimes it's new to people, but when given the instructions and shown how to do it, you have to take that and run with it and use that in your day-to-day. If you don't, you're always going to be, pushing uphill. And it's just, you're never going to get to the point where you feel comfortable, because I don't know about you, but in this business, every single thing just piles on until it's done. And it just keeps growing and growing, and unless you start crossing stuff off your list,
yeah, dude, that's how people get burnt out. I mean, I see it all the time. Guys are like, I've had it. I'm so done with this. And I'm like, well, what's the problem? And they're like, there's nothing but problems. I'm so sick of dealing with this. And I'm like, all right, well, what are you doing to get in front of it? What are you doing to kind of prevent some of these problems before they happen? There's nothing I can do. I have too many problems. And I'm like, holy crap. But one of the best.
We all know that that's not the case, right? Because anybody who's been doing this for a bunch of years knows that despite the fact that it feels like you're never going to get out of it, you always do. Every community always gets finished. And people move in and they live there and they sell their houses and they move on, just like every other community that's ever been built. So you can't say it's not going to get itself worked out. It will.
Yeah.
You just sometimes, it's funny. Sometimes you have to work a little extra to get yourself organized so that you eventually are online with the program.
Well, that's the thing, man. When you get behind, when you find that all you're doing is putting out fires, that's when you have to put the extra time in. Work a Saturday, work a Sunday, get caught up, and do the proactive things, to prevent those fires. It's funny. One of the best CMs I've ever met had one year delivered like 178 condos. It's a ton of condos, and I was like, and he did it like it was nothing. And I asked him, I was like, how the hell did you deliver all those condos? And he was like, I don't wait.
I don't know. I just go.
No, he's like, I don't wait. I'm proactive. He's like, I plan it out. I say, I need to do this by then. I get it done, and then it's not an issue. I'm not scrambling to get things done. And he was like, I was like, holy crap. Okay. Clearly that's the secret. Because I'll be honest with you, dude, I don't know if I could have done it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a special guy in a special scenario there, and he had a great team, and not taking no for an answer, and working hard to set up the program, and don't tell me that guy didn't do extra work to get to the point where that was a smooth it wasn't just smooth just because it was smooth because of the extra work.
For sure. Yeah, well, I don't know if
that's how you can sleep at night and also produce 178 condos in 1 year.
Yeah, it's the sleeping at night part that gets me sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
I can tell you, especially when I was really in the thick of things, man, delivering homes, I would stay up at night and just be like, how?
I know. I'm there some days right now, and I also feel like, my program here is like taking an existing program and putting it online with a big company function, and there's no right way to do any of it. I mean, some of the stuff I plan, and I come up with a good plan, and I'm like, all right, time to execute the plan, and I start going through the execution of the plan, and I'm like, this plan sucks. Start over. You know what I mean? It happens all the time. I mean, like, halfway through the conversation, I've been like, wait a minute, hold on, stop, let's cross this out. This is dumb. We're never going to get anywhere with this. So, I mean, sometimes it's about regrouping too.
Yeah, dude,
you come up with your plan, you got to execute it. Sometimes you realize the flaws in your plan while you're executing it, and you got to change that plan.
You got to be adaptable. Yeah, man, You got to be adaptable. I love it. That's a fact. I cannot tell you how many times I've thought this is a great idea. And then halfway through, I'm like, this was the dumbest idea. Why do people listen to me?
I know. I can't believe I came up with it.
I hope nobody credits me with this dumb idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's another thing, too. Like, I'm noticing here's one of my big hurdles. We come up with a plan. The plan sounds good, but it involves a whole bunch of others, right?
Yeah.
Trade partners, personnel in your own company, city officials. And I come up with a plan that I was using based on Virginia, what I'm used to, a pretty well-oiled machine with things that are familiar in a local government that supports growth and construction. And you try to execute the same plan along the same lines in a different location.
Yeah.
And you're like, this doesn't work. Like, what are we doing wrong here? And so what I'm doing right now is very much along the lines of what we're talking about. It is spending the extra time to organize the process. I started a folder that is called Processes, and it is literally a series of Excel spreadsheets and Word documents with instructions, and it is like, this is my if I get hit by a bus plan.
Gotcha.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not a perfect plan, but here's how it works, and if I get run over by a MARTA bus, then you can still continue to build houses in Atlanta.
If you get run over by a what bus?
MARTA. It's the public transportation here. It's like Metro in D.C.,
I was like, MARTA.
Equally as sticky.
Why are you naming buses? I got
the name of the... You get it.
I get it. I didn't know what MARTA was. What was that, like Metro Atlanta or something?
I don't know. I don't know what it stands for.
No.
It's the same thing. Trains and buses, yo.
Hey, it's Friday. Are you still at work? It's 4:00.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
I started at 5:30 today. I mean, just like every day.
Hey, let's talk.
Hey, you know what's a great way to get ahead?
What's
Work
that?
15 hours a day, 6 days a week. I recommend it. You get a ton done, and even when you're not done, you still get, 15 hours a day. It's great.
Sounds like a great way to build an ulcer.
Yeah. I also recommend not eating because you just forgot and you just kept working.
Oh my God.
It keeps you thin.
I could use some of that. I could forget a meal or two. To be totally honest, dude. I spend a lot of time sitting at a.
I'll tell you that, it's easy to say this scenario isn't as good as a scenario I've had before, so I don't want to do it anymore. Right?
Say what?
Bob, you remember the old military thing? It's like, what's the best unit you were ever in? My last one. What's the worst one you've ever been in? This one, right? I mean, You always feel like your grass is always greener, right? And the truth is, there's no substitute for hard work.
Yeah, man.
Once you get a process in line and you're successful, that's what this is about, man.
Yeah.
Building something from nothing. That's what we do.
Awesome. Yep. That's it. So, and just to kind of tie it back to routines, I feel like a benefit to everybody listening, because right now, we talked about everybody being busy. If you're listening to this and you don't have a set routine, you really need to sit down, grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and write down what is the most important thing I have to do today or tomorrow. Write that down and say, okay, how do I fashion my day to make sure that I do that first thing? What's the second most important thing? Write it down. And once you've got your list of important things, structure it in a way to where you can structure each day to make sure that you hit the priorities first. And I mean, if you're in construction, if you're the construction manager, the number one most important thing you're going to do is get into your building. You're going to walk your units, you're going to walk your houses, you're going to walk whatever you're building, you're going to walk it to make sure that progress is being made, the work is quality, and that's how you're going to start your day. Then what's the second most important thing? Probably, maybe answer emails or pay some bills or rearrange your schedule based on what you just saw. Write it down. All right, so first I'm going to walk my units. Second, I'm going to adjust my schedule or pay bills, paperwork essentially. Third, I'm going to go back out and walk my units, or maybe I've got meetings or people I need to call. So I'm going to start to prioritize my day. And once everything is prioritized, you structure your day so that every day is the same, or at least as similar as possible, so that you form that routine. And because you've prioritized everything and you've formed a routine based on your priorities, everything on that job site will start to get better. No question about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things you said that needs to be at the top too is use some sort of a calendar. Sure. I mean, I know that kind of goes without saying, but you'd be surprised and stuff. I've seen so many guys trying to do business from their cell phone or do business from a day timer, and the truth is, most of us are using electronic email and tools, and we've got calendars. Put your schedules together in a calendar, because that sometimes will shift and dictate how you manage your routine. Because, I could tell you that I want to get in and do my walks and write my stuff down and put out fires and then work on my schedule every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a 9 o'clock and sometimes you have a 1 o'clock. Sometimes you've got a 9 o'clock and a 1 o'clock. You are going to have to work around those scheduled events.
Sure.
And if, you don't want to end up like old Jason Shipe has a couple of times late, 5 or 6 minutes late to the Virginia division for like 12 meetings in a row because I get a 15-minute reminder and I'm 21 minutes away.
I don't recall any of that.
Yeah, right. We come in like, sorry, I'm late.
Everybody's like, where's
Ran
Shipe?
up the stairs.
Where's Shipe? Is he coming? Is he sick? Is he off today?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So I think that's sage advice, man.